Hey there, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of the MPC Markets Morning Call. It is the 5th of May. We would have had a few public holidays potentially in Europe around May Day. We certainly had one Labor Day holidays around Australia yesterday. Look, I mean, very simple. Oil up, stocks down. Coming out of the end of earnings season now, and essentially we've just seen obviously oil bounced back to about 106 in WTI, around about 115 in Brent, depending on which contract you're following. And there's been, the UAE has been attacked overnight. Iranian drones struck a Fujairah oil industry zone, which is the Middle East's largest oil storage hub. There were some people injured, and then the UAE strongly condemned the attacks. So, and OPEC announced 188,000 barrel per day output increase for June. I mean, whether they can transport that is a different matter. But yeah, so we had Brent up 5.4 at 114, WTI up 3.5 at 105 or 50 odd. We had 30-year Treasury yields above 5% for the first time since last July. And you had 10-year Treasuries up around about 7 basis points as well. So, I mean, look, we really are at a point where they're running out of. I mean, as you can see here, we got the attacks up here at the moment for the first time. As you can see, the ceasefire has been largely observed up until now. We are now 65 days to even getting close to normal. Troop buildup is still quite large, and it's still costing the US consumer enormous amounts at the gas pump. So we're talking $6 and $7 a gallon in California. And look, we're going to see some inflationary numbers come through in the coming weeks. So Trump, as he does, he loves to do. He launched Project Freedom. So that's about the US Navy escorting vessels through the strait, and apparently he's got some passage. I'm not entirely sure why, why he hasn't done this earlier or whether this will actually happen. There's not a lot of details outside of him announcing that, Project Freedom. Hope it goes a lot better than, the first project where it was going to be a 6-day war. So 2 US merchant ships have successfully transited Hormuz, but Iran did fire missiles at US destroyers, and the US destroyers destroyed 7 Iranian small boats. So a South Korean cargo vessel was struck by projectiles, and then Iran will be blown off the face of the earth was a comment that if US ships are targeted, was a comment from Trump on Fox News. So tensions escalating somewhat, and look, there was a Reuters column overnight as well about US inflation's heading for around about 4%. Does not surprise me. And we've got US and Chinese sanctions. Relationship being tested because the US sanctions on Iran, China's defying them at the moment. They've issued an unprecedented backlog order and told companies to ignore the US sanction on Iranian-linked refiners, and they will take any of that refined oil. So, yes, there might be some more forceful countermeasures from both sides. But yeah, look, big picture here. The S&P was down 0.4. All sectors in the red, basically, except for energy. And the Dow was down 1.1. The Dow Transport Index, which is one of those ones that's linked to leading economic indicator, was down 5% overnight, which is pretty bad. The Kospi actually rallied 5% yesterday in Asia, best day in a month. Bitcoin reclaimed around about reclaimed the 80,000 point, and but overall earnings have been, double what most had anticipated. 27.8, the highest since 2021. Hyperscaler capex at 800 billion, and expected to be 1.1 trillion in the new year. And Goldman's have put out a research note saying that infrastructure spend will be 7.6 trillion by 2031. It's not too far. That's at least averaging that 1.2 billion a year, trillion a year, trillion with a T there. Palantir was up 1% after hours, 85% revenue growth, raised their full year guidance to 71%. Berkshire was down 1, operating earnings. Their pile of cash grew to $400 billion, or just under the new CEO. And then there was GameStop was down 8.5%. They put a $56 billion unsolicited bid for eBay. eBay was up slightly. UPS and FedEx were down on an Amazon logistics service launch as well. So, as you can see, sort of overall, we just drifted off a little bit. We're still up for the week in the US. We saw the Euro stocks down quite a bit. The Aussie market sort of lingering. We do have RBA today at 2:30. Just quickly, we'll go over. So gold was down, silver was down as well, around about the 4% mark. Copper down around about 2%. Platinum down. So there's a bit of a risk-off sentiment there. Oil was up, as we mentioned before. Things like coal were up as well. So very much the same. Lithium and uranium heading lower. So that's a very typical risk-off move for the course of the last 60 days. RBA decision at 2:30. Third consecutive hike is expected to 4.35. There will be some new economic forecasts released alongside the decision, the press conference as well. Westpac's got some results due today. And we've got Dexus and Vicinity Centres as well. So it looks like, we're just having a quick skim of this now. Westpac results were largely flat overall. They've lifts their profit 1% to 3.5 billion. Their credit quality improved slightly. Stress exposures declining by 20 basis points, which will be encouraging for that for the bank sector today, I would imagine. In terms of the US, we've got JOLTS openings, etc. as well. There's a few things coming out. ISM services, and then we've got AMD reporting earnings, which looks to be that will actually be before the open. So Eaton Corporation, which we do, we're quite a fan of. That power sector has done very well on backlog demand. ARM Holdings towards the end of the week. AppLovin, McDonald's, Macquarie Group's going to give us some earnings as well Friday morning. You've got obviously some fringe stuff towards the end of the week as well. But on that Friday, we got Friday night we've got payrolls, which will be a pretty big number, I would imagine. Any kind of slip there in the earnings is not going to be particularly any slip in the economy is not going to be taken particularly well. We've seen some massive layoffs announced, but jobs numbers maintaining some resilience, which is a little bit confusing. But it depends on how much of a tinfoil hat you wear. It'd be a little bit of a conspiracy theory that Trump's got his man in the BLS now. So whether they're going to hit, whether the numbers coming out are just going to be fairly fudged up until then. So we've got the Trump Z summit approaching later in May, and I think we're on that payrolls number. We're expecting around about the 65,000 mark, which doesn't really cover, migration, or used to not cover migration. For those of you who haven't seen Buy the Dip, we've been talking about this quite a lot lately. So we're selling out of our S&P 500 ETFs, and we're going into a structured investment called Buy the Dip. Basically, you're going to get the lowest Monday settlement between May 18th and October 18th on the Monday, and so we're essentially looking for anywhere up to a 10 to 15% dip somewhere between now and the middle of October. You better hurry with this one because we do start to close up next week. Obviously, the strike date being the 18th, so we're winding this up by the 15th. So basically, you've got 10 days to scan, register your interest. This is a really good one, people, because the midterm election dips are unbelievably consistent. We've got a 10% dip most years. Every 4-year period around these midterms since 1940. Trump may be the difference, but you've got to back stats on this thing with all of the geopolitical noise going on, with the increased cost of living in the US, etc. I think there's going to be it's going to be a pretty hard fought election. We don't really see the Democrats putting up enormously strong candidates, but that uncertainty about who's going to be in power and take control of the Senate or the House, etc. That markets don't like uncertainty. So scan that code and have a look. There's an explainer video there. There is also you can grab the PDF and the PDS, etc. It's a 6-to-1 leverage to the upside and not so much on the downside. But yeah, be better off having a look at the at the video and having a read of the document overall. Look, have a great day, everyone, and eyes on obviously the RBA, and we will speak again tomorrow.
Feeling lost with investing? Meet Mosaic. Mosaic is MPC Markets' platform that turns confusing markets into clear, actionable guidance for your portfolio. Discover Mosaic today. Portfolio and trade ideas in one place for clients and subscribers, powered by MPC Markets.